Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Game Week 7 League 1 review. If you do want to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 140 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below on how your team got on over the weekend. Obviously, it was the international break, so there was, I think, only 8 games, or is only 8 games for us to go through and review. Apologies for it not coming out yesterday. I was far too hungover to bring it out yesterday, and thankfully, there is no midweek matches. It's been a long time since Bradford City, the team that I support, haven't played in midweek. I think we're going back to in between the first game week and the second game week, so I'm looking forward to a little bit of a rest this week. Let's get straight into it. Bolton Wanderers finally put an end to their 1-1 draw streak with a fantastic 3-0 victory at home to AFC Wimbledon. Mason Burstow opens up the scoring and I think has taken his tally to 4 goals already so far this campaign. I wasn't entirely sure he'd be the man to get Bolton 20-25 goals this season, but so far he is certainly proving me wrong. Free kick comes in from the Bolton left-hand side, in swinging, it eventually comes back off the post and Burstow is first to react to tap into the back of the net. 5 minutes into the second half, Marcus Brown just completely loses his head and it's one of the worst tackles that you'll see all season. It's definitely a red card. It's an absolutely awful challenge and could have caused the Bolton player some real serious injury. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to have affected him. I've certainly not seen anything reported like he's suffered a serious injury, which is obviously great news, but an awful challenge from Marcus Brown. And you could see when Bradford City played against Wimbledon last week that he's got that side in him, Marcus Brown, where he can certainly lose his temperament or lose his head a little bit, and that was an absolutely ridiculous challenge. 3 minutes later, Kazia Dewberry, I'm still not 100% sure on the pronunciation of his name, but he's a very, very talented player. On loan from Brighton, cuts in on that left foot, and it's almost got to be a perfect finish into the back of the net to find the bottom corner. Absolutely outstanding goal, and then Joe Randall wrapped up the scoring just 9 minutes later. I think it's Max Conway takes on a shot from the edge of the box. He's P-rolling towards the goal, and Joe Randall just stabs it towards the back of the net. Joe Lewis did get his marching orders as well in the 91st minute, only 15 minutes after his first booking. I haven't seen the first yellow card, but the second one, I can certainly see why the referee has given it, in all honesty. It's not really shoulder to shoulder. It's more shoulder in the bag, and obviously Darren Drysdale's not going to hesitate to ever give a red card. Looking at the stats from the game, as you would expect, they were largely dominated by Bolton, with Wimbledon obviously having 10 men for the majority of the second half and even 9 men for periods of it. But even in the first half, it was still total domination from Bolton. Way more XG, way more possession, shots on target, big chances, corners. It was complete domination, whether it was 10 men, 9 men, 11 men, whatever you want to call it. This is a much more Bolton Wanderers performance that we do expect. In terms of Wimbledon, not a result that is going to define their season. No one at the start of the campaign would have gone, well, if Wimbledon lose away at Bolton, they're definitely going to go down. But it is now back-to-back defeats for the Wombles, and also 6 goals conceded in their last 2 matches. They conceded 5 to Stevenage as well on Tuesday. They've conceded 11 goals in 3 matches, 11 goals in a week, and on Tuesday they made a fair amount of changes, but yeah, 3 really not great results for Wimbledon over the last 7-8 days or so, but still they're 15th in the table. I do think they will be fine come the end of the campaign, given the context of this game and the mistakes against Bradford, the rotations against Stevenage. I'm not concerned about Wimbledon as of right now. As for Bolton, great for them to finally put an end to their 1-1 draw win streak. They've drawn all of their last 4 matches 1-1, which is, not great for them for a team who has aspirations of the top 6, if not the top 2, but great for them to finally get their second win of the campaign, and hopefully for their sake they can continue this good run now, or make this the start of a good run. You get what I'm trying to say. I suppose next up then we have to move on to Doncaster Rovers 3, Bradford City 1. Our bubble has burst, our first defeat of the season has arrived, and of course it's against our Yorkshire rivals in Doncaster Rovers. Again, we were just nowhere near the standards, and I don't think this can now be a case of we just weren't at the races, because it's been a number of times in a row now where Grant McCann has comfortably got the better of Graham Alexander as a manager. In terms of the squads, I don't think there is a massive contrast between the two sides like what you would maybe think, judging by how many times that Doncaster have recently got the better of Bradford City. And in this game, they were comfortably the better side. We offered absolutely nothing. If this game finishes 4 or 5-0 to Doncaster, I don't think I've really got any complaints, because we were absolutely all over the place. There was 1, maybe 2 players who come away from the game with any real credit. It was just a massive catastrophe really for Bradford City. They open the scoring after just 6 minutes. Jordan Gibson's running down towards our goal. It's a great recovery challenge from Bolton, but it eventually falls back to Jordan Gibson. He's got a free cross into the box, and Luke Molineux is just completely unmarked to head into the back of the net. I don't think he'll score many headed goals in his career, but he probably won't score many easier than that. Our midfield just completely switched off and just allowed him a free header at goal from about 8 yards out. Absolutely shocking at defending from us, and it did not finish there. 6 minutes later, though, we would find an equaliser through Will Swan. Some nice link-up play between Sarcevic and Point, and the latter then crossing low. It squirms under Timothy Lotatala, and I do think he's got that type of mistake in him, Lotatala, where he is a very good goalkeeper, but just every now and again, he'll have one of those sort of moments, and thankfully Will Swan was there to tap into the back of the net. That's the sort of striker's instinctive finish that we need. I think if that's Stephen Humphrey starting that game, which he was obviously on the bench for, then I don't think we score that goal because, you know, he's not a traditional striker. He doesn't really get in them sort of areas, but Will Swan, nice to see him on the score sheet yet again. 6 goals for him already in Bradford City colours. He's only one off his tally for Crawley from last campaign, but unfortunately we couldn't build any momentum there. You know, it just got worse and worse after that. 10 minutes later, a ball is played towards Joe Wright. He's got a little bit of time, but with the type of defender that Joe Wright is not great technically and very much a no-nonsense defender. He decides to bring it down on his knee, a little bit of a heavy touch, and then tries to play a sideways pass into Aidan Baldwin. He falls over. It's intercepted by Jordan Gibson, who travels, I think, 30-40 yards, pretty much completely unchallenged, and a low strike into the bottom corner. And we all know about the kind of disagreements that the Bradford fans have had with Jordan Gibson over the last couple of years, so when he scores, he quite rightfully gives it a little bit to our fans. I didn't really understand the pointing to the chin. I thought it was a shush, but it's a clear point to the chin. I'm not really sure the context behind that, and obviously he pretends to be a chicken, or does a chicken dance in front of our fans, and obviously some people were absolutely rattled by that. I think fair play, we give him more than a fair share of stick. If he wants to then, you know, give a little bit back, I have absolutely no problems with that. But the manner of the goal, again, it's a big mistake from Joe Wright against his former side, and Billy Sharp would score the final goal of the game just before half time. Just really, really poor defending. We're letting the ball bounce. Billy Sharp, you know, he's been there and done it. He's now 39 years of age and still scoring goals against Bradford City. Well taken goal, but Tommy Lee needs to be stronger. I think Baldwin and maybe Joe Wright as well, they just need to do a little bit better. I think it was Nerfel who originally didn't even challenge for the header, which James Maxwell obviously got the assist for. Just so sloppy. Going into the second half, he made a couple of changes, but never really like getting back into the game. We were constantly playing the ball wide, and crosses into the box were awful. The deliveries from the wide areas were absolutely terrible, and even when the odd cross made its way into the box, we had one player in there. You're never going to score goals if they've got 6 or 7 and we've got 1 in there. We had to get more bodies in the box. Alex Patterson had to start this game. We just got quite a lot wrong, but fair play to Grant McCann and his side. They were the better team comfortably on the day, and you look between the two squads, you know, their squad on paper is not so much better than ours that they should always be beating us, but it always seems to be happening. It is still only the first defeat of the season, so I'm not going to overreact too much. You know, we're still 5th in the table. It's still been an exceptional start to the campaign. Doncaster, though, up to 2nd, absolutely flying under Grant McCann. Fair play to them, and, you know, Jordan Gibson, Billy Sharp just keep scoring against us, don't they? Huddersfield Town scraped past Peterborough United with a 3-2 victory. The first half, it didn't really seem like a lot happened. Huddersfield had a few half chances, but that was about it, and then Peterborough would score 2 minutes into the second half. Free kick on the edge of the box taken by new signing Harry Leonard. He smashes the ball towards goal, and it hits off of another new signing in Jimmy J. Morgan, a man who spent, I think, time last season on loan with League 2 side Gillingham. It kind of just deflects off him, wrong foots Lee Nichols in between the goal for the Terriers and pings into the back of the net. But their lead would only last 13 minutes as some nice play from Lass Sorensen down at the right hand side. Well, Alves has only been on the pitch for 4 minutes, and Sorensen beats his man, crosses low towards the back post where Alves taps into the back of the net. 7 minutes after that, Herbie Kane hit the target with an absolutely outstanding strike, to be fair. Yes, it does take a deflection off of the Peterborough player, but still from about 30 yards out, you'd say, to control the volley and get your head over the ball like that was an absolutely outstanding strike. Joe Taylor then had a great opportunity to make the game 3-1, which he did not take. It hit the post, obviously, with that open goal, but he would still score in the 91st minute against his former club, a well-taken goal. And obviously Peterborough do pull a goal back in the 98th minute, a decent cross from Gustav Lindgren. and Keane Hayes just taps into the back of net. Some pretty sloppy defending from Huddersfield. To say there was 5 goals, it doesn't really like it was the most entertaining of matches, in all honesty, and it is yet another defeat for Peterborough. I don't think their relegation battle is going to be defined by losing away at Huddersfield, and obviously they now come into the big derby against Bradford next week on a little bit of momentum. But even just looking at the player ratings from this game, it really did not look like the most entertaining of matches. Looking at the league table then, Huddersfield are up to 3rd. They have obviously gone above Bradford City as of right now, and they've won 3 of their last 4. Their only defeat being away at Barnsley, where the keeper got sent off. So they are on a good run of form. As for us, it is just 1 win in our last 3 league games, you would say, but it has still been an outstanding start to the season, and it is obviously a must win for us next week. In terms of Peterborough, of course, their only point of the season did come against Bradford City, but at least they've scored a couple of goals from open play now this season, which is, I guess, positive for them. But they have also conceded 14 goals in 7 matches. They're averaging conceding at least 2 a game, so you're going to have to at least score 3 goals a game to have any type of chance of winning. They're on a minus 10 goal difference already. Peterborough are in a lot of trouble. They're 4 points from safety, having played a game more. They've played 2 games more than Bolton as well. Peterborough are in a lot of trouble for me. I know obviously they made a lot of signings on deadline day, and it might take a while for them to eventually come to fruition. I think this will probably have been more of a back 3 rather. I think this will probably be more of a 3-5-2 rather than a 4-1-4-1, but a lot of concerning signs there for me for Peterborough. As for Huddersfield, you got to win your home games, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Lincoln 2 or Wigan 2 was certainly a very, very lively game with a fair few controversial decisions, you could say, from the match official, but Paul Mullin opened to scoring after 10 minutes. Some great distribution, to be fair, from Sam Tickle. Mullin then rounds the Lincoln goalkeeper and rolls it into an empty net. He's certainly looking much more sharper in this game than what he did 6 weeks ago, for example, and I think he took that goal very well, in all honesty. About 20 or so minutes later, Lincoln are awarded a penalty, and I think it's incredibly soft, in all honesty. I actually think it could be a foul the other way. I obviously can't play you the full video, but just look, taking this screenshot here, the Lincoln man has Christian Sadie in a headlock. So I'm not 100% sure this should be a penalty. Regardless, it was still a very well taken penalty from James Collins, and he found himself again on the score sheet just 3 minutes later. A well worked set piece from Lincoln, and Collins taps it into the back of the net. He's already got a couple of goals so far this campaign, and I think wherever he's been over the last couple of years, he's always scored goals, to be fair, has James Collins. 5 minutes into the second half, Wigan work a goal very nicely. Eventually, the ball is on the right hand side with Christian Sadie. He crosses to the back post where Callum Wright, completely unmarked, heads into the back of the net just a couple of yards out. Then the man who assisted that goal would see red on the 68th minute for what is a very unfortunate challenge. He's clearly tried to put his leg in front of the Lincoln player to shield the ball. That's the type of game that Christian Sadie does play, but he does mistime it slightly, and it's very clear that he does scrape his studs down the side of the Lincoln player's leg. So again, I don't think you can really have many complaints about that. Seems a harsh red card, but one that probably does seem pretty fair. And obviously Rob Street then even numbers up just 9 minutes later is how you do maths. Obviously, he gets his second yellow card 13 minutes after picking up his first booking, which I haven't seen. But again, it is clearly a very high foot from Rob Street, and I don't think he can really either have many complaints. But again, 2 red cards in that game, and neither of them were intentional. It says here that Riley Towell's going to miss the next match because of 5 yellow cards already. We're only 7 games into the season, but certainly a very lively match. Let me know down below your thoughts, Lincoln fans, Wigan fans, on the penalty decision, the 2 red card decisions as well. Let me know your thoughts down below, as well as, liking and subscribing if you haven't already. But it seemed like Wigan were the better side in the game, despite having 10 men for a little bit longer. Looking at the second half, again, there was only really one team that was looking to win that game. So a really good point, to be fair, from Wigan. Lots of positive signs there. Obviously, no Christian Sadie, what will probably be your next 3 matches is a big blow. But Lincoln still in 8th position. They are without a win in their last 3. They have drawn 1-1, and then 2-2. But they're not losing matches. They've only lost the 1 so far this campaign, which is good for them. As for Wigan, again, it's 4 games without a win for them, 3 draws and a defeat in that time, but they have had a pretty tough run of fixtures. Some of the away games, as long as you're not losing them by a drastic amount, like going away to Luton's not the end of the world, and obviously they drew at home to Stockport. So I think Wigan, they're going to be fine this season. Lincoln, again, they'll be in and around it as well, but a good point for both teams, I think, in the grand scheme of things. The lively games in League One this weekend certainly continued as Plymouth Argyle smashed Stockport County 4-2 in what was, again, a very, very interesting game. A few controversial decisions, shall we say, from the match official. The first goal of the game is scored by Kyle Wootton, unfortunately for him, in the back of his own net. A corner comes into the box. I do think there is a clear pull on the arm of Kyle Wootton, but if we're giving fouls for that, then we're going to be giving 50 penalties a game. You know, I do think it would have been very soft if that was to have been given as a free kick, and obviously Wootton then converts into the back of his own net. You can take nothing away, though, from the second goal that Plymouth do score. A well-worked short corner routine. You very rarely see goals actually be scored from short corners, but it's worked to Watts on the edge of the box, and a brilliant outward swerving strike. It's kind of shot straight at Adai, and then at the last second it swerves away from him near to the top corner. An absolutely outstanding finish from a player that's had a really positive start to the season. Just before half time, Stockport County are awarded the softest penalty that you will see all season. That is never a penalty in a million years. I cannot believe the referee has seen something there. It's actually the same referee that Bradford City had away at Accrington Stanley last season, and he was absolutely garbage in that game, so I've no idea how he's got promotion up to League One. But still, when the penalty is given, it is very well converted by Ollie Norwood. 3 minutes into the second half, Plymouth restore their 2-goal lead with a great strike, to be fair, from Bradley Ibrahim. I think a man who spent time on loan with Crawley Town last campaign, and that was a great strike. I think Corey Adai probably thinks he's going wide, judging by his body language for the goal, and it creeps into the bottom corner, I think off the post at Adai's near post. Absolutely fantastic strike. Laurent Talai makes it for another goalkeeper assist. We saw one in the last game with Sam Tickle. Luke Ashby Hammond got one in this one. Some brilliant centre forwards play from Laurent Talai. I've been a big fan of him for, well, probably just over a year since he moved to Port Vale, but a well taken goal there in all honesty. And I do think, I'm pretty sure it was Connolly of Stockport County, has to do a lot better for a centre half to get beaten physically like that. It's absolutely pathetic defending from him, but taking nothing away from the touch and the finish from Laurent Talai. Kyle Wootton does pull a goal back in the 95th minute. A well taken goal, to be fair, making up for his own goal, but it was far too little too late for Stockport County, who have had a really poor start to the season. Plymouth, obviously, I think this is their second league win of the campaign, so they're up and running recently, winning midweek against Cheltenham. I had a feeling Plymouth would get a good result in this one, and yes, they had obviously less possession and less XG, but they've scored 4 goals from only a 0.78 XG, which goes to show how useless that is. More shots though, shots on target, big chances, corners. Plymouth certainly deserved the victory in this one. As for Stockport, just 1 win in their last 5. Stockport's second defeat of the season. They've conceded 11 goals. Scoring goals isn't really the issue. They've scored 12, but they've conceded 11. That is absolutely awful. That is the most amount from 11th upwards. That is absolutely awful, especially for the money that Stockport have spent on their defence. Maybe they're missing somebody like Enibu Torre, who has been very good on the whole for Bradford City. In terms of Plymouth, 2 wins in their last 3. Is the title charge officially on? They've conceded 15 goals, though. That is clearly the big issue. I don't think scoring goals now. They've got Talai and Watts, and they've got Amechi as well, and a couple of decent attacking players. I don't think scoring goals is really going to be the issue. They've scored the joint most amount of goals from 15th downwards, but have conceded 15, comfortably the most in the entire division. They've conceded more than Peterborough. They're averaging conceding more than 2 goals a game at the moment, so that certainly does need to improve. But plenty of positive signs there for Plymouth, scoring 4 against one of the title favourites. You're never going to complain about that, so fair play to Tom Cleverley. They're, dare I say, on a roll with back-to-back wins. Again, the lively action does continue as Leyton Orient snatched a late winner against Port Vale. Ryan Croasdale opened the scoring after 7 minutes. Some nice play from new signing Devante Cole down at the Port Vale left-hand side. He squares it to Ryan Croasdale, who for me, when he's fit, when he's available, has to be playing every game for Port Vale. He's very important, not just for his goal-scoring attributes, which he does pop up with a fair few a season, but defensively, he does bring you quite a lot. Their lead would only last 6 minutes. Orient work the ball to the right-hand side. I think it's Josh Karoma who takes on a shot. He takes a little deflection where Aaron Connolly then just taps it into the back of the net, and just before half-time, they would take the lead in the game. Again, Orient, some really nice play. Eventually, it's worked to Karoma on the right-hand side. He fires a ball across the face of goal where Ballard taps into an empty net. 7 minutes into the second half, I think it was a corner from Port Vale. It scrambled to the edge of the box. It's played to the edge of the box, I think, where a shot is then taken towards goal. It scrambles. I don't know if the keeper saves it. It hits the post, but Devante Cole, regardless, he's on hand to react first, really, and he taps into the back of the net, up and running for his Port Vale account after signing a 3-year deal, I think, with the club on deadline day. Not as good as Laurent Talai for me, certainly. I think Talai will play higher than Devante Cole, but I think he'll come in and do a job for Darren Moore's side. But unfortunately for Port Vale, they just don't have that knack of being able to see games out. In the 95th minute, Charlie Wellens, the son of manager Richie Wellens, would score the winner. Again, another assist for Josh Caroma. He's absolutely thriving at Leyton Orient, and a very well taken goal from Charlie Wellens. But it's the manner of the goal for me defensively from Port Vale. I'm looking at their entire team, just one yellow card in the entire match. Jaheim Healy's actually only come onto the pitch 15 minutes before he gives the ball away. Well, 19 minutes before he gives the ball away. Why are you not just taking a cynical yellow? Why did no Port Vale player just take a cynical yellow? You're on the counter-attack, you're 2-2 at home, just take a booking on the halfway line. They decide to not do that. Wellens scores the winner, and yeah, a very well taken goal in all honesty. Looking at the stats from the game, then as you would expect, Leyton Orient have dominated possession, but Port Vale deserve more out of the game again. But this is the problem. You might be being well coached into getting into these good areas, but they've not been good enough in both boxes. They've conceded 3 at home again. Scoring goals in this game has proved to not be that much of an issue, but again, Port Vale have just conceded far too many, and I'm not really surprised in all honesty with Morose in goal, Hall, Hennigan. Are they really League One standard centre-halves? Humphreys, yeah, I probably agree with you on that one, but defensively they are really, really weak. Midfield is fantastic for Port Vale, but I think they're second bottom now at this moment in time. It is just not good enough. Second bottom. They only scored 4 goals all year, and half of them have come in this match. Nowhere near good enough. They're one of 2 teams still yet to have won a game. Conceded 9 as well, which I know when you compare it to Peterborough and Blackpool and Plymouth, it's not the end of the world, but just 2 points. Already 3 from safety with a inferior goal difference. It's 4 league defeats on the bounce as well. As for Leyton Orient, good for them to get back to winning ways after back-to-back league defeats. They are proving to be a little bit inconsistent at this moment in time, but I do think now the transfer window is shut. Richie Wellens knows the players which are going to be there. He can work with them. I think they will start to pick up form a little bit now and really start competing for a top 6 finish. But a great win for Orient to win it in the manner as well away from home. It's a great reward for their fans, but Port Vale again, I'm still not convinced they'll stay up. By the standards of the games that we've spoke about so far in today's video, Rotherham beating Exeter 1-0 at home didn't really seem like the most entertaining of matches. And to be honest, looking at the highlights, that further probably does prove my point. The only goal of the game being scored by Denzel Hall, which he eventually I think came off with injury in the second half. But a well-taken goal, to be fair, after Rafferty's cross was only half cleared to Hall. He smashed the ball into the roof of the net. And both sides huffed and puffed. They had some half chances here and there. Exeter had the ball in the back of the net in the second half through with Josh McGuinness, but he can only be caught scratching his hair out, or pulling his hair out, not scratching. Well, I guess he's scratching because there's no hair to pull out, and obviously that was ruled out for offside. But it's good for Rotherham to win at home. I still think they will go down this season. I think there's a real lack of quality in that squad, but if you're not beating Exeter at home, then who are you going to beat really this season? Looking at the stats from the game, Exeter dominated possession, but they only had 1 shot on target in the entire match. That is absolutely pathetic, and I really do feel sorry for these Exeter fans because they obviously have to travel a very long way for these away games, and they're just not being rewarded whatsoever with not just results but not even performances. Nothing really to get behind away from home at this moment in time. Rotherham clearly did deserve the 3 points in this one, but even still just scraping past with a 1-0 win. And you look at the quality between the two sides. I mean, this strike force, that is a believable strike force, isn't it? That is, yeah, you're not going to score many goals with them two up front. They need Nombe back as soon as possible. In terms of the league table, Exeter still 13th. They'll be very happy with that. They have been awful away from home though so far this season. They did win away at Wycombe at 1-0. There's been a lot of teams that have been a lot worse than them, but they lost 1-0 away at Doncaster, lost 2-0 away at Northampton, 1-0 away at Rotherham. You know, these are winnable fixtures for an away side, given where Exeter want to be come the end of the season. But yeah, that is nowhere near good enough. But in terms of the actual league table, it's still looking pretty positive for Exeter. In terms of Rotherham, it is nice for them to finally get their first win since the opening day. They've obviously got 1 game in hand on a lot of teams in this division now. Burton actually have 2 with their game being postponed this week. But Rotherham, there's a little bit of a gap between themselves and the relegation zone. They have still only scored 5 goals so far this campaign, but it's a 1-0 win. Let's just move on. And we end today's video then with Wycombe Wanderers' first league win of the campaign as they beat an informed Mansfield side 2-0 at home. A couple of injuries for Mansfield inside that first half is obviously not great for them, and Manu, this subbed on just after 8 minutes, was subbed off at half time. Just not a great day at the office for the Stags, and the first goal is just the epitome of that. Wycombe play a ball long, the Mansfield defender, I think it was Ryan Sweeney, tries to clear it, and eventually it just falls perfectly into the path of Bell, who lobs it over Roberts into the back of the net. And the second goal comes from a penalty where Blake Tracy, I think pretty obviously, cleans out the Wycombe attacker. I think it was Fred Onyedimya, and Collie Woodrow scored his first goal of the campaign since joining on loan from Luton Town. I think think on deadline day, a well-taken penalty wraps it into the bottom corner beyond the diving Liam Roberts, who did, to be fair, guess the right way. And then again, Mansfield were huffing and puffing. Wycombe had a decent opportunity or two after that, but I think this game was all about Wycombe. Despite, obviously, Mansfield having more possession and more shots, Wycombe had more shots on target, more big chances, more corners, and I think you'd probably say that Wycombe did deserve the victory in this one. As for Mansfield, it's still been a great start to the season for them. Obviously, they were a little bit iffy, went on a good run. They're now on a little bit of an iffy run as well. I think 3 games that win in all competitions. I'm pretty sure they play tomorrow, though, against Harrogate in the Virtue Trophy, so they'll be aiming for a win in that one. As for Wycombe, they're at the relegation zone. First win of the season for them. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Their underlying performances haven't been awful, but there has certainly been a lot of individual mistakes which have contributed to that. They caught the mistakes in this game and surprised they'll win the football match. I don't think they'll finish in the bottom 4 come the end of the campaign, but it goes to show that a win can propel you up the table, even at this stage, 3 or 4 places. It is still all very tight. You're looking at just 9 points between being in the relegation zone and being in the playoff places. That's only 3 matches, hypothetically speaking, although very unlikely for something like that to happen. But you see here, there were some big wins in their most recent match for Reading, Wycombe, Plymouth, Rotherham and Northampton. I know some of these teams didn't play over the weekend, but yeah, some concerning signs for teams down below. Some good stuff as well for teams up the top as well. Just Bradford letting the top 7 down in terms of wins in their most recent match. But both us and Doncaster can't have physically won. As long as we beat Huddersfield next week, who cares? But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed it, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 140 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts down in the comment section down below on how your team got on over the weekend. And let me know down below as well, will Bradford beat Huddersfield next week? Because that's all that we care about. The big derby, isn't it? I'll see you all then for another one.